stop. Just stop for a moment. Pause everything. Take a deep breath. I know there's a version of you that you miss, a younger you, a lighter you, a version that felt possible, hopeful, unbroken. And maybe you've been thinking, I wish I could go back. I wish I could redo it. I wish I could be that person again. But I need to tell you something that will change how you see your past. You can't go back. But that person you were, they're not gone. They're still inside you, and you can honor them right now. Let me tell you what you've been feeling. You look back at who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, before everything changed, and you see someone you barely recognize. Someone who laughed easier, who dreamed bigger, who wasn't carrying all this weight. And you think, if I could just go back, if I could just be that person again, if I could redo those years with what I know now. And the regret sits heavy in your chest because you can't go back. You can't undo what happened. You can't return to that version of yourself. And so you feel like you lost them, like that person died, like they're gone forever. But they're not gone. They're just buried under everything that came after. Let me tell you about the moment I realized how much I missed who I used to be. I was 32 years old on a business trip to San Francisco, working on my latest startup, Hang Tight, traveling to meet with advisors. And then I was at the airport in California, walking to my gate, and I saw this little boy. He was maybe 3 or 4 years old, dark brown curly hair, little shorts, an explorer hat, and a vest. Cute little backpack. He was with his parents, and they reminded me of my parents. They were speaking Mexican Spanish. It felt too real, just like my childhood. And this little boy, so small, so full of life, was talking coherently, excitedly about the adventure they were going on. "We're going to Disney," he said in Spanish. The joy in his face, the pure, unfiltered excitement, the way he saw the world as this limitless place of wonder and possibility. And something in me broke because I saw myself. I saw little Armando, the boy I used to be, the boy who had no worries, no anxieties, no weight, and I realized I miss him. I miss that version of me. A few years earlier, I was in my late 20s. Before I turned 30, my parents had remodeled our childhood home. This one I'm in right now. My mom asked me to help her reorganize some cabinets. And in one of them, I found about 10 old photo albums and several plastic bags filled with folders of photographs. Pictures of my parents before I was born, their wedding, their trips and adventures around the world. Adventures that later inspired me to dream of exploring this planet. And then I found pictures of me as a little baby, as a child, growing up with my sisters, traveling around the world as a family. And then I saw it, a photo of my childhood bedroom. The walls were covered, completely covered in drawings I had made with colored Sharpies. Skylines, airports, airplanes, clouds, mountains. My parents had let me draw on my walls. They let me be as creative as I wanted. And I remember thinking, even as a kid, I'm so lucky. My friends' parents would never let them do this. And then I found photos from my teenage years. My bedroom walls were covered in maps. Maps I'd torn out of Spanish National Geographic magazines. Maps of Africa, the Americas, Europe, Antarctica, mountain ranges, of the voyages taken by the most legendary explorers and conquistadores. Maps of Texas, Mexico, the world, and also lots of airplane models everywhere, all around my room. KLM, British Airways, Continental, Varig, Iberia, Aeromexico, even an airplane model of the Air France Concorde. I was obsessed with aviation. I mean, I still am. And looking at all of those photos, seeing that little boy who drew airplanes on his walls, that teenager who covered his room in maps, I realized that boy knew no limits. He was creating the world he wanted to live in. Even if it was just in his mind, he knew no limits. And I didn't know where he went. I didn't know what happened to him. I just knew I missed him. And I wanted him back. Let me show you what I didn't understand back then. When you cut down a tree, you see rings. Each ring represents a year of growth. The center ring is the youngest. The outermost ring is the oldest. And here's what most people don't realize. The inner rings don't disappear when new rings form. They're still there, inside, supporting the tree, holding it up. The tree at 50 years old still contains the tree it was at 10, at 20, at 30. All those versions are still there. They didn't vanish. They're part of what makes the tree strong now. And that's you. The person you were before the heartbreak, still inside you. The person you were before the trauma, still there. The person you were when you still believed anything was possible, they're in your center, holding you up. You didn't lose them. They're not gone. They're not dead. They're a ring inside you, and every version of you that came after formed around them. You can't go back to just being that ring. You can't shrink back down to who you were, but you can honor them. You can remember them. You can let them know they mattered. Now let me tell you why you miss who you were. It's because that version, it didn't know what you know now. And ignorance felt like freedom. The younger you didn't know heartbreak yet. Didn't know betrayal. Didn't know how hard the world was hopeful, so unburdened. And you wish you could return to that, to not knowing, to not carrying all this weight. But here's what you're forgetting. That person could only exist because they hadn't lived through what came next. They were light because they hadn't been tested. They were hopeful because they hadn't been broken. And you're heavier now, but you're also stronger, wiser, more real. You can't go back to innocence. Once you know, you know. Once you live through it, you can't unlive it. But here's what you can do. You can honor who they were. And you can carry their best parts forward. That younger you, they had dreams. They had hope. They had curiosity. They had joy. Those things didn't die. They just got buried under survival, under pain, under all the things you had to carry to get here. And your job now isn't to go back to being them. Your job is to uncover them again, to let them breathe, to honor what they gave you. Let me tell you when I discovered that little boy was still inside me. It was Christmas Day, a few years after I found those photos. I was actually leaving the US after spending time with my family. I was headed to Lima, Peru. I was going to go back to the Amazon. My second time to work with ayahuasca medicine. Because it had called me back for further deep work. I remember the flight was leaving Atlanta at sunset. I was sitting by the window, watching, waiting. The airplane, big Delta 767-400, aligned with the runway. And at the end of the runway, perfectly lined up, was the sun, dark red, golden, its rays reflecting off the runway. The runway lights are already coming to life, blinking, blazing. And at the very end of the runway, I could see another heavy aircraft taking off, racing up into the sky, its body silhouetted against the sun, lights reflecting the streak of that beautiful setting sun. And I thought, we're all headed somewhere. And I'm headed on my own path, my own journey, as an adult now. And then suddenly the engines roared to full life, full power. The acceleration pulled me back into my seat. I looked out the window as we rushed down the runway, the world blurring, the speed building. We zoomed past a long line of airplanes from all around the world, lined up on the taxiway, awaiting their turn to fly off far away to their destination. And then liftoff. And in that moment, as we rose into the sky, I heard a voice, not out loud, a voice inside me. You're going places. You're creating your dreams, and you're bringing them into reality. Don't stop. You're going to change the world with your vision. And I realized that voice has been there my whole life. Every single time I've taken off on an airplane, since I was young, that voice has spoken to me. And it's not just any voice. It's the little boy who drew airplanes on his walls. It's the teenager who covered his room in maps. It's the kid who dreamed of exploring jungles and mountains and glaciers and oceans. He didn't die. He didn't disappear. He's been with me every single flight, every single takeoff, whispering, you are still me, and I'm still you, and we're going places. And every time I take off, I feel like a child again, extending my arms out while my parents carry me in the air, pretending to be an airplane, flying in the sky. The world seems limitless. Nothing seems like an obstacle, because that little boy is still inside me, and he always has been. So let me tell you who you actually are. You're not just the person you are today. You're every version of yourself that ever existed. You're the tree with all the rings still inside. You're the child who believed in magic. That ring is still there. You're the teenager who felt everything deeply. That ring is still there too. You're the young adult who took risks. That ring, still very much there. You're the person before the loss, before the trauma, before the hardship. They're all still there. And yes, there are also rings formed by pain, by betrayal, by heartbreak, by survival. But those rings don't erase the ones before them. They just add to them. You are more now, not less, not diminished, more. You carry the innocence of who you were and the wisdom of what you survived. You carry the dreams you had and the strength it took to keep going when those dreams broke. You are all of it. The light and the weight, the hope and the scars, every ring that forms you. And you don't need to go back. You don't need to erase the outer rings to access the inner ones. You just need to remember they're still there. And you can honor them by living in a way that makes them proud. So here's what I need you to do. Stop wishing you could go back. Stop resenting the person you've become. Stop mourning the version of yourself you think you lost. They're not lost. They're inside you, and they need you to honor them. Think about the younger you, the one you miss, the one who felt lighter. What did they love? What did they dream about? What made them feel alive? And then do one thing today that honors them. Play the music they loved. Visit the place they felt free. Dream the dream they had before the world told them it was impossible. Not because you're going back, but because you're carrying them forward. And if you need to remember, if you need to feel them again, leave a comment down below. Just type They're still inside me. Always. Say it out loud. Because when you stop trying to go back and start honoring who you were, you realize they never left. They've been holding you up this whole time. So no, you can't go back in time and change your past. You can't be who you used to be. But still, the rings keep forming. The tree keeps growing. Every version of you that ever existed is still there. Still part of you. Still making you who you are. You didn't lose them. You're carrying them. And the best way to honor them, keep growing. Keep living. Keep becoming. They're still inside you. And they always will be.